This is just a single row of oddments that I plant just to keep hold of stock if I want it or not. There's a myra that are allowed to come out early. Another one down there. They're just go through the ring. Once the rest of them start coming, which should be for bank holiday onwards, that should bring the size down a little bit. The very dark bud down there is George Marsden, one I'm having a look at, and it is particularly dark, almost black. Looks an interesting flower at this stage. Looks like it's got plenty of petal. Nice habit. See what it comes to as a flower. And there's a Willow's Violet. Again, a good flush of buds there. Some I've calyxed, which I'll show you later. Just taking the calyxes off. So I'm just showing a bit of colour and opening, but there's plenty going through there. So I should have vases of that for most shows. And so there's the Jan. Again, plenty of buds, about the right sort of timing, and the Dave's Choice behind. So generally I'm happy. I think everything's looking pretty good. We've just had a heavy feed today. Got through about 30 litres of Tomerite on most of the beds, and it'll probably be the last main feed. I'll do one next week on a few things like Dave's Choice, just to give them a high potash feed, but I don't generally like to feed once the blooms are coming out. It can skew the form a little bit, so I tend to get it in now, build up the bud, and let the flower open with plenty of water going into them. I think when the flowers are opening, the water is the key. Here we are on the poms. This one, Willow's Violet, and most of these, certainly of the large buds, have all been side-shooted, and I tend to go at least a couple of pairs on Willow's Violet, especially when the plants are this full. The next job really, I tend to go through side shooting, and I go through and I calyx them, and quite simply I just take them off finger and thumb, and just remove them. The ideal stage to do it at is when they're just going back, but it's a lot of fiddling around, and it's just easier to go through and do them while you try. And that's done. Now you'll notice I haven't taken them right off. I've left, probably taken about half, and it's something when I was growing lots of poms years ago, I realised that varieties like Willow's Violet, Moor Place, tend to be a little bit shallow, and if you remove the entire calyx, it allows the petals to come back to the stem nice and neatly, but the calyx also holds them out, and I just find, it's probably very minor, that if you just take half the calyx off, it allows the petals to come back to the stem, but it tends to hold them out a little bit, and by which case I believe you get a little bit more depth on the bloom, so you get more globular pom. So Willow's Violet, Moor Place, Iris, Noreen, ones that tend to be a little bit shallow, a bit flat bottomed, I would suggest that just remove half the calyx, and that would be fine, that would work. There's one here, I've took it all off, and on varieties like Go at the Twilight, Hallmark, then just take them completely off. That was just a force of habit, but if you can remember, then just nip them in half. I tend to be a bit quicker at it with two hands and not holding the camera, but so just like that, and that would be fine. So that's calyxing, and obviously we're doing it. If we don't take the brakes off, then the petals won't come back to the stem neatly, and we won't get top marks for the poms. That's the covers up, both sides. Managed to get nice and tall. It was quite sunny earlier. which means that it allows them to stretch a little, so you can get them nice and tight, and as they cool down they tighten up even more. Hopefully the wind's not going to do too much damage and take them off. I've put the rails on the front, but I haven't put the row clean across the front yet, just for ease of access. Another few days and I will put it up. I'm not forecasting any strong winds for a couple of days, so that's good. But it's always reassuring once the covers are up, you know, show season's coming, and whatever the weather throws at you, at least the blooms will be protected. Just to show you from above, out the bedroom window, there's the plot and the covers, about 9 foot to the apex and 6'6", 7 foot to the eaves, and that's the beds that are out of cover. So that's the Mary's, Dave's Choice, Jan, Willow's Violet, and bits and pieces that are outside, and then the rest, anything smaller and above, is under the covers. So the row cleaner go across the front there in a couple of days time, just in case we get some winds. That is a sort of windy end, but not forecast any.